Okay, we're back with a barking dog in the background, and all we're going to have to do now is really going to be the same process pretty much all the way down the shaft with our gears on it here, our intermediate shaft. All we have to do is go ahead and keep removing these lock rings and then pulling gears off if we have to. We're going to get that started now by just going ahead and pulling off this first lock ring here. Again, we're going to use our actual lock ring pliers. Loosen it up a little bit, take it off. There's our next lock ring. That just freed up this bearing on the back. We're going to go ahead and try and remove that. Shouldn't really be a problem. And actually, I'll go ahead and show it now. We've got the old Harbor Freight 14-piece gear puller set. Well, with parts of it falling out, but either way, that's what we've got going on right now. It should work really well for us to get this bearing off. And generally the fourth gear if you have to. Sometimes you need it for that too. Alright, I hope you can see the contraption I've got going here. Honestly, this goes way better when you don't lose one of the nuts that can hold the little studs that thread into the actual splitter here. When I can do that, it's actually easy to just use the pieces on the ends of the splitter and do it that way. Instead, I've got the little foot attachments on here, and I'm grabbing kind of the cross bolts that go across there. I usually, honest to goodness, just throw a cheap Craftsman wrench in there on top of the shaft, because it doesn't take much force to get these bearings off generally, so you're not going to even damage the wrench, let alone hurt anything else on the shaft. This contraption here sets you back, assuming you've got the wrench, I think like $30 or so at Harbor Freight, and I've used it to take down, I don't know, several transmissions now, and it's still going strong. I've actually used the cross brace piece and the puller thing to do all sorts of stuff. I mean, from steering wheels to, I use that all the time when I pull transfer gears in the junkyard. But anyway, I got a lot of use out of it, and it sure beats paying close to $300 for the actual Chrysler puller. The last time I saw one on eBay, it was about $275, and I think that did come with all the adapter plates, but nonetheless it gives you an idea of just how much that can cost. I'm going to go ahead and turn the nut on the top, and then this bearing is going to pop right off, and we'll get right back to it. Alright, next thing we got to take off is fourth gear, and fourth gear always kind of cracks me up because on some of the transmissions I've done, it is a total pain. And on other transmissions, it's not very difficult at all. I'm going to sneak by the light here, and I'm going to try and get this going for us. But I've done nothing. I did walk over here and verify how it was going to come off first, but this is, I just slid it right back down, and this is all, there's fourth gear right off for you right there. And then of course the brass ring, go ahead and take that next. I generally like to keep the brass rings right next to the gears that they come on. It just seems like it keeps better that way. And last I checked, these brass rings do not come cheap, which is nice since this one looks so darn good. And we'll keep that nice and safe right next to our fifth gear with the brass ring on it, and we'll go ahead and move on here. It's going to be some smooth sailing on the rest of this gear set, I've got a feeling. Alright, up next on top of the trans there, maybe I'll have to tilt it so you can see it. Yes, I will. It's going to be another sorry for the light again. Another lock ring on there. I'm not sure how well you can see that, but nonetheless, another lock ring's getting ready to come off, and then I've got a feeling that another synchronizer is going to come off, and then another gear is going to come off. So you just kind of keep going with this pattern, and repeat as necessary until you find the very front of the shaft. So let's get going. Alright, our trusty lock ring pliers coming in handy again. Got that off, set it to the side. We should be able to go ahead and, as you can see, the whole deal is going to come here. Give me a moment so that way I can step in front. One of my biggest problems down here in the Shelby dungeon is that we don't have quite enough light, so let me get it to where I can see what I'm doing here. I like to try and keep the synchros all together as one unit. Most of the times that can happen, but it sure won't happen while I'm trying to stay out of your light and do it on camera. So give me one moment, we'll be right back. Alright, I really wish I would have actually videotaped that. what I did to free up this synchro as one unit is, and I just kind of redid it there. I used third gear to pop up the synchro and almost put it right into my face, which was actually kind of amusing. I thought that would have been great on camera, but nonetheless, here we go, third gear. What do you know, we got a brass ring down there. Of course, again, going to leave that right on top of the gear. That way we can keep a good hold on it, and no loss, no breakage, good to go. So now we've got third, fourth, and fifth off the gear, and first synchro of the day off in one piece, which is kind of nice. But again, you'll hear a lot of guys kind of gripe and complain about, oh, you know, those synchros coming apart, and no, you got to put them back together. You know what, is it super easy the first time? No. But you know what, get used to it, because they will come apart. You're going to have to put those little springs back on there. And, you know, I guess it's one of those deals where the sooner you get used to it, the sooner it becomes easy. So might as well get used to it now. There we are. Alright, what you can barely make out there probably, and I'm going to try and tilt this, excuse me, because I just don't think that that's quite good enough for us here. What you can barely make out, most certainly right here, is that there is a snap ring on here, and there's a piece on each side of second gear. Now, to be totally honest, I haven't pulled this apart yet, and I also don't recall for this one exactly what the score is here. There is generally a little pin that will stop this piece from spinning on here, and there is a difference even between, from what I've noticed, like the 525 shafts and the early 520 and 555 shafts. There's a couple different designs of this collar. Some of them, this collar is like one ring that just releases off of there, and it's relying on the upper lock ring that was above that synchro to hold it down and keep it in place. Others have got the snap ring like this one does, but regardless, that little pin that we're going to find here, and again, to be totally honest, I kind of forget which gear it was on. That little pin is minute, and it is super easy to lose. So you're going to hang on to that, and again, it can be really easy for it to come out. If you've got that style where it's just that ring that slips right down over the shaft here, you know what? Be careful when you're taking that one off. It's a little bit easier to be on the lookout when you've got the pieces that are split in half, because to me at least, in my mind, when I've got an operation like this where I got to remove a snap ring and then you've got these two halves, I'm being a little more careful. When I pull a ring off that doesn't require anything, I'm thinking, well, that's done, and I move on, and that's when I lose the pin. So trust me, you only search for one of those things once before you remember that you better hang on to it. Alright, I know this is dark and I apologize, but that little shiny dot right there is that little minute pin. And it was right on under there, just like I recalled from the other transmissions. You get that snap ring off, you get the little collars off, and this little pin, again, which is super hard to see there, but that little pin stops the rotation of that collar. That's what it's there for. You're going to need to reinstall that, so don't lose the pin. Very carefully take it out, set it to the side. We need that thing for later. Alright, I did not actually have a pair of needle nose pliers or actual snap ring pliers down here, so I ended up using the snap ring that held the collar in place. I used the mouth of it to kind of get this started and then finish it with this. Kind of funny, but nonetheless, just to give you an idea, this little guy right here, again, one of those little pieces, and I'm willing to bet this one's probably NS1. So another one of those little things, hang on to it. Alright, with that piece on, we can go ahead, and second gear should just pop right off here, which it does. We've got the different 1-2 synchro on here, I believe now, and just a lock ring there. This 1-2 synchro will come off, and yeah, we'll definitely, I think, if I can dig up another 1-2 synchro, if I'm feeling up to it, quite frankly. It's a little later this evening, but if I'm up to digging up another 1-2 synchro off an earlier shaft, which I got lying over here to the side, we'll try and get that going for you. So here goes second gear, and actually you can already see the difference right here. Notice how the second gear, the dogs on it here, are quite different than the other transmissions, and if I'm not mistaken, or other transmissions, excuse me, the other gears, if I'm not mistaken, this is one of the key differences here. Again, just a total difference between 1 and 2. 3, 4, and 5. you can use them off of any 555, 568, whatever. I know there was a difference at one point, I believe, in the fifth gear ratio, but again, that you can just kind of match to the trans, again, because you bolt that piece onto the back. So 3, 4, and 5, there's a lot of interchange there. The brass rings are all the same, etc. So there's a lot of variation there. It's the 1, 2 starting at 89 that causes some parts interchange issues. Kind of would have been nice, honestly, if they would have stayed with the same 1, 2 synchronizer design, because then you would have been able to interchange across, the 555 and the 568 for the whole main shaft. But either way, small running changes. I mean, that's how it goes. Nothing stays the same forever. All right, seems like it's getting darker in here by the minute. But anyway, another lock ring's going to come off here, and then our 1, 2 synchro, and then of course first gear is going to be next. So let's get that going. All right, another lock ring off, and now we're going to be ready for this whole 1, 2 synchro to come up here. And this one, and I did not get that going beforehand at all. This one just came right out. Again, you can kind of see how it's got the little blocker doodad here. Oh boy, all coming apart on me now. But anyway, you got the little blocker doodad. This is actually a plastic piece right here. So, very different design. So you got the plastic piece with this ring here, which goes inside of this ring. Here we go. Come on out. There you go. And then you've got your little wing strut deals in the thing there. Flip it over. You got your other ring right there. So again, a little bit of a different design on this than the other ones, as we might be able to see. Again, the key differences coming from the plastic piece there, and that you'll see that's quite different. I can already tell I'm kind of locking myself into going ahead and getting that other deal out. But again, hey, you know what? 2 synchros off in this transmission altogether, so that saves us a little bit of time and energy. That's kind of nice. Alright, we actually, the synchro, 1, 2 synchro is the same on both sides. We did leave the other stuff on the back of first gear here. And you'll see much like, let me see if I can get this up in the camera here. You'll see much like second gear, first gear's got the same kind of different look to it here with this different kind of synchro. Nice and smooth slide in there. I got a feeling this entire shaft all the way down to number 1 looks great. And oh yeah, look at that. Just comes right off. There goes first gear. Now if we were going to go ahead, if we were looking to do a hybrid transmission, essentially we would just be taking this shaft and definitely not tossing it to the side, because Lord knows they're not exactly growing these 385 shafts on trees these days. But we would go ahead, set it to the side, and good for a rainy day, make sure to protect it from rust, etc. You can see right here on the shaft, this area is one of the key differences, again, where this 1, 2 synchro is. That's what you're really looking for right there when you're trying to see, just by visual inspection, looking at 2 shafts. Maybe I've taken apart a bunch of transmissions in my basement. Oh, which one was that? This area here is going to be the key. I'll try and go ahead and just pull down another shaft real quickly, because I'm looking over my pile, and I think I've got various hybrid shafts and things started. So we'll go ahead and pull one down, get it all set, and maybe try and compare the 1, 2 synchros on the different shafts, and then also compare maybe some coarse pitchness of the gears, and then certainly these main shafts here. We'll go ahead and compare that. Maybe I'll try and grab an early 555 shaft and show that next. You really don't need to take the shaft apart to see the difference. If you look at this shaft, obviously the right side of your screen there is going to be 1, and then working your way back out to 4th gear. Of course, 5th is off of it already. I've gone ahead and locked the 1, 2 synchro back to engage first, and if you look at it right there, you can see the brass ring, and that's going to be a dead giveaway if you're just looking at one of these shafts. Maybe you've got it down to just the shaft. I'm not sure what the deal is. Let's check it out. Well, right there, that's going to be a giveaway, because let me go ahead. I'm going to get in your light for a moment, but let me show you with the 1, 2 synchro from the 89 trans. You'll be able to see the difference. Since it's got that plastic blocker ring, you're going to notice that it's not going to show that nice brass color right there, because as I've got this up next to it, which you really can't see, let me put it in the frame here, you can see here's the whole synchro right here. you know, when you're looking at that, you're not going to be able to notice anything. If anything, you'll be able to notice this plastic, if you will. You know, the inside part is plastic. It's like a plastic deal on a metalish sleeve, whatever. You know, you're going to notice that in there, but you're not going to see the other piece. So when you're looking at this, you know, again, look out for the fact that there is no brass showing. That's going to be a dead giveaway right there. We'll go ahead, and it'll only take me a few minutes. We'll go ahead and pull this shaft down. Looks like we got another 555 shaft going on here, though. Let me guys orient this the right way. You can see that the gear pitch pretty much the same on both of these. So you got you know, another 555 that well, at least 555 gear set I'm getting ready to tear down. So I'm not sure where's my other shaft. I can get a quick comparison for you of the whole shaft. So you can see, we look at it, definitely a 555 trans. I think that I've just got in I guess inoperable condition right now. Really not even sure what I was doing with this one, to tell you the truth, but we'll go ahead, we'll take it apart, we'll compare the results when I get it down to the bare shaft. My goodness, it is fast working when you don't have to videotape every step there. Go ahead and focus on this. Notice here the 1-2 synchro looks pretty much like all the other synchros for the really 88 and earlier transmissions. 89 is the one with the different 1-2 synchro. And there it is. I got to take out the lock ring, pop it off, get first gear, and we're going to be good to go. Alright, again, to give you an idea of what you're looking for on first gear for the early style synchro, again, notice how it's the continual dog teeth all the way around where the synchro engages versus those really kind of groups of three on the later style transmissions. Also, this first gear, if you look on this earlier style, we've got another plate here that's retaining one of those little pins that we got to hang on to. So again, always on the lookout for those things. You don't want this project to come to a halt on account of us forgetting a tiny little pin. That'd be a pretty annoying thing to lose and have trouble getting the trans back together on account of it. Alright, time for our test. Which one of these is the early shaft and which one's the later shaft? Let me get both of them all the way in the frame there, somewhat or another. If you guess that the shaft on the left is the later shaft and the one on the right is the earlier shaft, you are absolutely correct. Notice how the shaft shoots. Hey, our light didn't break. This is phenomenal. Alright. Anyway, notice how the shaft on the left has got the much taller vertical grooves. Let me try and zoom in, focus, etc. Very, very dark. Nonetheless, there they are. Tall vertical grooves, much wider spaced. That is the later shaft. Smaller grooves, early shaft. That's pretty much all there is to it, but a world of difference, you know. You got to be careful when you're going through the yards and stuff. Should you find an 89 520 trans with a 350 final drive in it, wouldn't that be something to have, knowing that that can go in your later model, you know, 90, let me think about this, first gear. I know 90, and I'm not sure if that changed to 91 due to the gear ratio and such, but nonetheless, you'll be able to use that shaft in some of the 568s. It'd take me a moment to really think about which ones you'd be able to use, but regardless, you got a lot of cross compatibility with that 89 trans. Notice again how with the as we tilt up the shaft here, notice how when we look at this we see everything's the same when you start going up. You know what, if I had a 525 shaft out there, I would love to show that, but frankly I think I have one sitting over there. I'm not going to pull that apart tonight. If I had that, you notice that the back section of that 525 shaft is the same as these two shafts. So all the people that thought, oh, this 525 I got lying around, you know, I'm going to scrap it, I'm going to get rid of it, I'm going to do whatever. Please, guys, save those brass rings. You know what I mean? Save those synchros. keep that stuff going, because all the stuff on the back half of that thing, it's still serviceable. Last I checked, if you can get them at the dealer, I think that the brass rings for the synchros are 30 or 40 bucks a piece. All right, so make sure you're saving these parts. I don't know about you, but near me, they're not out in the junkyard anymore. They're not available. So let's keep these things alive a little bit longer by swapping some parts and saving some transmissions, even if it's a 525. At least gut it before you scrap it. You know what I mean? Nobody's going to say, oh, I wish I had a 525 case. You know, maybe if they... No, nobody's going to say that ever. All right? But stuff like this, definitely. So I hope this was educational for some. Hopefully I can cut this down because I've been doing too much yammering on tonight. So go out there, rebuild a transmission.